Sean, thank you so much for accepting my request for this interview. You're a speaker, you have multiple books, and you started this Extra Mile Day initiative. I just signed up yesterday, so I'm planning to invest myself into that. And then you also run a podcast. Everything that you do to inspire everyone around you as well as whoever listening to you. So thank you so much for doing that and so welcome on this show.
Well, it's a privilege to be here. And, I always clap loudly for people who take risks and walk their visions like you're doing with your podcast. Just one small clarification. I actually don't have my own podcast. What you might be referring to is a blog that I've put out called Extra Mile Thursday, and I've actually written it for 521 Thursdays in a row. But I let people like you, the real podcast pros, I piggyback on you and jump on your shows. That's what I do.
Thank you for that clarification. I didn't catch that yesterday. I want to request you to share a bit about yourself and what you do and why people want to listen to you.
Well, I'm pretty much a pretty ordinary guy, except for one small difference. I chose at a very young age to live an extraordinary life. And I realized young that we all have the power to really create the lives that we want to live. That life is rich with cause and effect. And the more of one thing that we throw out, the more of another thing that will return to us. The more positive energy and positive action that we throw into the universe, the more the positive success will come our way. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, from my very first business selling worms to fishermen at age 10, all the way through building a business college in Los Angeles, and then now writing books and speaking on the subject of motivation, success, and living the life you love.
Wow. First business at age 10.
Yeah, I had a love for baseball cards. And when you love baseball cards, you got to find ways to pay for them, right? So I would constantly try to figure out ways to make some money so I could walk down to the 7-Eleven shop and buy as many packs of those baseball cards as I could. So what I would do is I would flood my parents' backyard with water so that the giant worms, they're called night crawlers, would rise to the surface. And then at nighttime, I would go and grab those dudes off the top of the grass. I'd put them in giant barrels of dirt. On the weekends, I would have run an ad in the Reno Evening Gazette paper. I'd sit in my front yard in the morning on Saturday and Sunday at 6 a.m. And the fishermen who read the ad in the newspaper would come by and they would buy my night crawlers by the dozen. And that was my first entrepreneurial gig.
Wow. To come up with that idea and actually implementing that. Kudos to you.
Gratitude.
So the first question that I ask every guest is when they were 11, then when they were in high school, what they wanted to become.
Well, I was always driven somehow to find the best in me, to do the best. I perhaps when I was younger, I learned to achieve because you received accolades from others and accolades from your parents, and you received positive attention. But by the time I rolled through high school, I started to realize, I love succeeding not for the praise I get, but for how it feels to me. And so I was always a top exceeder, a top exceller in academics and sports, socially, because I wanted to get involved. I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn. I wanted to put myself out there. For some reason, somehow, I never let fear stop me from trying stuff. Even if I would lose, I would still keep trying. And I think that's a real secret in life, and being able to achieve your dreams is somehow being able to push fear into the back corners of the closet and not let it exist into the front window of your life. I think when we're able to push fear back, It helps us move forward. And ever since high school, I did that.
Hmm.
I always knew that I wanted to be an influencer, a leader, a motivator. I was always motivated by the great speeches and by the great books. And so somehow, some way, I'm walking that path. I'm walking the path of writing the books and giving the speeches. That's what I do now.
And that's how you decided that this is the profession that you will be into.
Well, I remember as a very, very young boy, I was listening to a record. Back then there was records, and this record was of John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was giving a speech, and I remember it was a live speech, and I could hear the people in the background. I could hear the emotion that he was bringing out in them.
Mhm.
I could hear the passion in his voice. I could hear the purpose of his intention. And maybe I wasn't capable of articulating and clarifying all of that as well as I can now. It somehow sprouted a feeling in me. It planted a seed in me that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to bring out the best in others because that was an exciting existence. And from listening to that record, something started growing from the very beginning.
And after that, what are different things that you have done?
What different entrepreneurial things I've done?
Yeah, sorry. Just looking for your journey from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
high school up to this point.
I went to the University of California, Berkeley, and experienced one of my first big losses there. I had ran for student body president my senior year and was defeated, but yeah, it was a victory for me because on the very first day I walked onto that Berkeley campus as a freshman, I said to myself as I walked through that campus someday, as a fearful freshman, I said, someday I will run for president at this school. And I did. And I think that particular lesson of saying to myself what I'm going to do and then following through and taking the action has always been something that I've been really good at. Uh, at Berkeley, I played Division I golf. I served as a leader in the dorms, as a campus leader. I probably went to class far less than I should have, but I had a lot of fun. After that, I with very little money to my name, maybe less than $400, and no job lined up. I went to San Diego first week of my life down there, just slept on the floor of a friend's house, then moved up in life into the van of another guy and had a job working 50 cents more than minimum wage at a 7-Eleven from the graveyard shift till I tried to figure out what I wanted to do. Received 100, I'm sorry to inform you, letters of jobs I couldn't get. And it was right then that I decided, I'm not going to wait for jobs. I'm going to create jobs. And from that moment on, I became an entrepreneur the rest of my life. By the age of 30, I suppose my personal wealth was over $1 million. And it was when I took the initiative of creating rather than waiting that my life really changed. I've had multiple business failures. I've had a couple of business successes that have set me up pretty well to be able to not worry about money, but to
Mhm.
just focus on my passion, and that's to help inspire other people to live their dreams. And that pretty much takes us to where we are now. Along the way, I've started to do some other cool things that others maybe might not be doing. I've walked across 8 countries since 2014, coast to coast or from one side to the other. I've pedaled a bicycle solo, ocean to ocean across the United States twice. I think I'm visited up to 55 countries now as I chase adventure around the world. And I just live, I look to live with doing what I want to do, with chasing the dream that I think would be cool to chase. And as I look at the last whatever years I'm given, I hope that I continue just to follow that path.
Speaking about that walk, I saw your note that you did 1,600 rounds on the ship to finish 100 miles.
Yeah, just recently, in fact, it was, I guess, maybe a week ago or so, I just came back from a cruise across the Pacific to Hawaii and back to San Francisco. And I just had this personal goal. There were 10 sea days on that ship, and I wanted to see if I could walk 100 miles on the ocean. And so for 10 days, I just broke it down. 10 days to walk 100 miles, I needed to walk 10 miles a day. So literally there's a track on the lap, on the ship rather, where if you walk 16 laps on the ship's track, it equals 1 mile. So that meant for 10 days, I had to walk 160 laps. When you multiply 160 laps by 10 days, that was 1,600 laps. So yeah, I just finished walking 100
Mhm.
miles in 10 days. And that was just a cool thing that I wanted to see if I could do. Uh, but certainly some of my walks across some countries have been much, much, much bigger than that. Walking across Shikoku, Japan, for example, in 48 days, I walked 750 miles. In walking across Spain in a 550-mile walk, I did that in 27 days, which was averaging over 20 and a half miles a day. So yeah, I'm a believer that if you don't use your body, you'll lose your body, and so I push myself pretty hard in that way.
Wow. I can't I can't imagine how you did that 20 mile a day for so many days.
Well, where there's a will, there's a way. And sometimes some of the big goals that we have, we get overwhelmed by them because, yeah, when you think about walking 750 miles, you go, oh my God, that's ridiculous. That's a crazy distance. But you don't have to walk 750 miles the first day. You don't have to walk 750 miles the first week. All you have to do is walk to that town that you have marked on the map. It's all you got to do today. Don't even think about what you do tomorrow or next week. Just do what you got to do today. If you keep focusing on what you've got to do today for big goals, you keep doing that day after day after day, pretty soon the big goal is accomplished.
So, Sean, out of so many things that you have done, and your business, your speaking engagement, and then this biking, how you decide that for next 1 month this will be my big goal, that I'm going to walk 570 mile, or something like that? Are you taking that as a vacation time out of your business, or
No, it's what I do. I live a life of passion. I live a life of purpose. When I walk these walks, it's basically me sharpening my own axe, sharpening my
Mhm.
spirit, sharpening my mind, sharpening my emotions, certainly creating stories of which to write about in the blogs. I mean, if you can't share with people how to overcome their own challenges in life if you personally don't know what it feels like to be in the middle of the challenge. You can't tell people what it is to walk across fire if you haven't walked across fire. And when you walk 750 miles across country, I got to tell you, you have a lot of bad days in there. You have blisters and you have knee aches and you fall down
Mhm.
a lot of times and you can't find food and you can't find a bed and you can't find stuff. You get used to learning how to be tough. And if you're not tough, you've got no place in this world to show other people how to be tougher. So yeah, these walks across countries, it's all just a part of my mission. It's a part of my job. It's a part of what I do. It's a part of how I live.
Job as in your job?
Yeah.
So let me ask one last follow-up question on this. um Walking and biking, that's what you have chosen. There are other 100 activities. Some people do marathon, some people do swimming, some people hiking, and there are other activities, Mount Everest. There are so many other things to do. How do you decide, how do you pick that this is for you and then you stick to it?
Well, certainly walking across the country is my big deal. Although I have biked across the U.S. twice, I am not a bicyclist. In fact, the very first time I biked across the country, I met a challenge of doing it, and literally the week before I was to do it, I went and bought my bike. So, biking is not something I do. I didn't set myself up for failure because I knew I had strong legs and a strong heart, and I would learn to be good at the bike. But this other stuff, like walking across the country, first off, it combines all my passions. It combines physical effort and exertion. I love exercise. I love feeling healthy, number one. Number two, I love adventure. When you walk across a country, that's what you live every day, a country you've never seen, people you've never met, languages sometimes you do not know. Number three, I I love travel. I love new. I love all of this. And so when you're walking across a country, there's no better way to experiencing that than the slow pace of step by step across a country. You see small towns, you see the people that live in the small towns, you see people in their real existence. Man, that fills me up. That makes me richer. That makes me feel like I know my world just a little bit better. It's far different than if you fly into a big town and you go visit all the touristy stuff of that town. You don't really know the town or the country or whatever because you're only seeing what the tourists want you to see, what the big Disneylands want you to see. But man, when you walk across a country and you have to spend a night in a small town of 250 people, that's different. That's different living. And so I love that. It makes me richer because you get to really see people at their core. And that's what fires me up. And the more that I get fired up, the more I'm able to pass that fired up to other people.
One of my dream, I wouldn't say dream, but one of the fascination that I get sometime is to go to different countries like Europe, a small town in Spain, and then live there for 2 months and work from there. If I'm writing or podcasting or my full-time work at Advent Health managing people, I just do it from there.
Well, absolutely. That's the first part of making something happen is dreaming it into existence. And if you have that dream, I call those whispers, by the way.
Whispers.
The whispers are those thoughts, those feelings, those urges that we get that make us go, ooh, 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 I want to do that. That's the whisper. That's almost, I think, the universe speaking to our deepest self, our deepest passions. It's planting the seeds to how we are meant to live. Like you're hearing this whisper now, go work in another country, spend 2 months working there, doing that. Man, that's the whisper. Those are the things that
Mhm.
appeal to your spirit, that bring out your best potential, that take you to the edge of your comfort zone. And I encourage people, I do what I do to inspire people to listen to their whispers. Because I think that if you hear the whispers and you don't respond to them, if you don't take action on them, eventually the whispers go away. And then we find a life of mediocrity, we find average existence, and we end up leaving life with a thousand regrets of, man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, this is powerful. Yes. So we will dig deeper into this area. I am, and I'm trying, and the segment, the target audience that I'm looking for is the people who are in 9 to 5 job. They have tremendous potential. They are doing excellent. How can I help them do better in their job? There are so much help available for encouraging people to leave their 9 to 5 job and do a side hustle, do something great so that they can leave their job and do something full time. I know that many people are not ready for that, but they can do excellent on their full time job, and at some point, if they want to, they can switch to something else. So that's kind of the audience that I target to, and I have lived with them. Um, and one of the things that I have noticed, Sean, that there are people in this category. I'm not saying everybody. There are people in this category who are in autopilot, that they are doing things because that's what they're supposed to. They're going office, they're buying car, they're buying home, they're paying their loan, and their life is going in autopilot. They forget their dream. They don't even know what they want. They don't even know what their dreams are, and they don't know how to identify that dream. So as we was talking, and as I'm sensing, as we are talking, and as this is your passion, I want to bring the situation, bring the scenario to you, and I wanted to ask you, how are you going to help this type of people? Can you even help this type of people?
Well, first off, you know, we're all here for how many years? 60, 70, 80. So we're all here. So let me just ask you, what do you want to do with your life? How do you want to live? And whether someone's an entrepreneur or whether someone's working a 9 to 5, I got to ask you, are you happy doing what you're doing? And first off, if you're not happy doing what you're doing, you need to start doing something else. And then the next question is, well, what would you like to do? Because how can you ever be happy or ever how can you ever find your ultimate potential if you don't know what it looks like up front? What is it that makes you happy? What is it that will define you as being successful? See, you've got to clarify those things for ourselves. And when we can answer those questions, we give ourselves a chance to live not in a mediocre world, but the world that we want to create for ourselves. Life can be created. The conversations that we have, we can create those. The jobs that we want, we can create those. The performances that we give, we can create those. We have that power. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or a 9-to-5er. Every day we wake up, we have the power to create what we want, the power to create the relationships what we want, the power to create the success that we want. And when we recognize that we have that power and we take it into the day starting at 9 o'clock and we continue to apply it all the way to 5 o'clock, things happen. It is impossible to not throw positive energy into the universe and that positive energy does not return to you. If you go into your 9-to-5 and you are giving it your best, good things are going to return to you. People are going to notice you. You're going to move up. You're going to make more money. You're going to make an additional sell. Whatever it is, when you bring your best to life, life brings its best to you. So can I speak to the people working 9-to-5? Of course I can, because I too live from 9-to-5. And at my 9 o'clock, I'm bringing my best. At my 10 o'clock, I'm bringing my best. At my 1 o'clock, I'm bringing my best. At my 5 o'clock, I'm bringing my best. Keep bringing your best, and the best will happen for you. Keep bringing your best, and your best thoughts and your best inspiration start to strike your mind and your heart. You start to think about what you want to do next, where you want to bring your next best to. We all live 9-to-5. It's just, how do you choose to live yours? How do I choose to live mine?
That's an excellent advice. You completely separated that that thought of 9-to-5 job versus an entrepreneur or someone else. They all are doing the work, and what you're suggesting, do your best. Just like somebody I interviewed, his name is Scott. He said, plant where you bloom where you planted until you have the next thing in your mind to do. Just do your best where you are today.
Amen. And maybe people, you don't need to think about it as your 9-to-5 job, but how about your 9-to-5 life? Because that's what we all have. It's our 9-to-5 life. You're no different than me. You might have a full-time job outside this podcast. My full-time job might be speaking and writing, but we both have 9-to-5 in our lives. So there's no reason just because someone has a job from 9-to-5 that they can't bring their best or not be unmotivated. Man, if you're in a job at 9-to-5 and you're unmotivated, I'm telling you right now, you are in the wrong job. You are doing yourself a disservice and you are wasting your life, because we don't get too many 9-to-5s in life. There's a limited number of them. So, man, why would we waste a 9-to-5 by not adding our best to the world, to the job, to the customer, to the moment, right?
So true. Shawn, let's keep going. We talk about one scenario. We're going to talk about slightly different scenario where a person has an idea, but it's not clear. Like he want to do more, he or she want to do more, and there is a glimpse in mind, but it's not clear. For the people who are in that situation, what should they do to get the full clarity of their dream?
In 2009, there was a lot of things that were going wrong in America. I mean, it was a real a real negative time. Businesses were closing, banks were even closing, homes were at an all-time foreclosure high. People started becoming very dispirited about life and their ability to make things happen. That really affected me, and I decided to do something about it. And I decided to use my small voice and remind people that if you want to create change and if you want to create difference, you can't wait for others to do so, but you're the one. It's the man or the woman in the mirror that creates the change. And I wanted to remind people that you can't keep doing the same thing if you want change, but you have to go the extra mile. You have to add more value. You have to add more effort. You have to add more energy. So I had this idea. That I wanted to, remind people of go the extra mile. So I started piecing together a program called the Extra Mile America Tour. And I started adding all these parts together, and I didn't know what it looked like at first at the beginning, but I kept on adding them and the more parts would come. So I said, okay, well, in a Forrest Gump sort of way to remind people to go the extra mile, I'm going to ride a bike across the country, number one. Okay, what else can I do? I added the second idea. I'm going to create motivational events in 21 cities across the country as I go. Okay, great. What else can you do? Then the next idea comes to me. I'm going to interview at these events 200 people total in the 21 cities who have been identified as having gone the extra mile in order to add more value to others, or they went the extra mile in creating something brilliant. I want to interview those people. So here I have the bike ride across the country. I have the events with 21 mayors across the country. I have the interviews at those events with 200 people. And then I'm going to give away money. I'm going to give away $10,000 of my own money to the stories that most inspired me. Okay. What else do you want to do? Then another idea as I'm out doing the tour comes to me. Let's create Extra Mile Day. Let's create a day in America where mayors can look around their city, declare Extra Mile Day, and clap for and recognize the extra mile volunteers who are volunteering to make a difference in their city. So all of this I'm doing in 2009. It all comes together, but it comes together piece by piece, but I kept taking action. Extra Mile Day in 2009 was on November 1st. On November 1st, that first year, 23 mayors across America decided to declare Extra Mile Day and clap and recognize and have events for their volunteers. Well, every year since November 1st, 2009, Extra Mile Day has continued. Last year, November 1st, 2021, 528 cities and mayors declared Extra Mile Day. So the point is, and how I answer your question, is the total vision might not be clear initially, but what needs to be clear is your willingness to take a step on the first idea. And every time we take a step in a positive direction, we're moving forward. And the ideas start to change and the ideas come to us about how to make it better. But ideas never grow when they only sit in our head. Ideas grow when they're attached to our feet and we start moving with them.
Thank you, Sean. This is a very good advice, very practical advice that people can follow and implement on their life. My last question on this, one more scenario, okay? People like me who are...
You mean awesome, amazing people like you? You mean people who are willing to take risks like you? You mean people who have ideas to start podcasts and go through all the hoops? You mean people like you? Is that what we're talking about?
Thank you for saying that.
Okay, awesome, good. I love people like you. Let's go on.
I will share the stats. When somebody starts the podcast, 94% people drop off before they finish 10 episode. And when you finish 21 episode, when you publish 21 episode, you are the top 1%. And I have published 24 episode, all with doing other things. So thank you for saying that. What you just said means a lot to me. So, people like me, and I will give you a background. I've been writing on Medium for the last 3 years. I started this podcast about 6 months ago, and I'm all in. I have a purpose. I have the method. I have knowledge. What I don't have is where to take it. And I get fear when try to think bigger as in making this huge, where I'm leaving my job, I'm doing this full time, and uh, I I don't know what that looked like, but I get fear. I don't know where to take this. For people like me, what would be your suggestion?
You just keep bringing your best to it, man. You keep bringing your best passion. You keep improving yourself. In your particular case, what I would do is I would listen to my own podcasts again and again and again, and I would study. I would study, the questions I'm asking, the passion of which I'm bringing to the show. I would I would say, well, what do I want to plant? What seeds do I want to plant in my audience? And I'd make sure that I'm having guests that have the ability to plant those seeds. If you want your guest to plant technical knowledge, make sure they have that. If you want them to plant passion, make sure that they're wearing passion, whatever that is. So I would study every episode that I did. It's the same principles that I did as I first became a speaker. You know who my first audience was when started speaking? Myself, in a mirror, watching myself speak, watching my hand motion, listening to myself on audio, listening to my voice cadence, listening to how I bring passion up, how I bring passion down, listening to all of that, because when we study, we learn. When we learn, we grow. When we grow, we go, right? So you've done 24, and I applaud you for doing 24. That's awesome and amazing. And that's 24 more than when you first had the idea. But I got to tell you, you've got 100 more. You've got 500 more. As an example, in 2009, I wrote my first blog on Extra Mile Thursday. It's a weekly blog that I put out. It was a big deal writing that first blog, but I'm still learning. And just this Thursday, I put out blog number 521. Man, the success that we want early isn't going to come. I remember when I first built my first website, and I just thought, oh my gosh, they're going to come. I'm going to be flooded with so much stuff. How am I going to handle it all? It's not that easy anymore, man. Marketing's required. Getting the message out there is required. Contacting people is required. So many things are required to get to where we want. So I took the dream of trying to change the world out of my head, and I started planning the dream. Just try to change one person, man. First, just try to change yourself. And then if you're lucky and you change one person a week with your blog, or one person a week with your podcast, you did something valuable. And so if I were to look at myself and say, well, I haven't changed the world, you're a failure. Man, that's just sabotaging yourself. But if I look at it and said, this week I changed one person's life because of my blog, I'm a success, then that changes everything in your head and it keeps you going. I think sometimes it's great to have these big, lofty, freaking goals, but you got to remember it takes a long time for them to happen. We don't turn into Oprah overnight. Oprah didn't turn into herself overnight. It takes a steady progression. And again, we are not measured as being successful or non-successful, whether we have 1,000 podcasts or if we've done 24. We're successful because we are in the middle of doing it. I think that's what makes people successful to me. If you're in the middle of doing your thing, you're successful. That's the bottom line. If you're writing the book, you're successful. If you're trying to change jobs and go into a new job, you're successful. I think we start to limit people when we start to define them as what the biggest among us are as successful. I mean, how many presidents of the United States can there be in our lifetime? 6, 7, or 8? Well, it doesn't mean you're not successful if you don't become the president. I think people, they start to make their aspirations so darn big that they realize I'm never going to get there, so they quit, and then they start to become unsuccessful because they're not living their potential. And I know this was a longer answer, but it just required it. It required it because I see this so much. I saw this in me. I see this in me. When we think too big and we measure our success about that we're only going to be successful if we become big, man, we're missing the point. We're missing the point.
Another powerful comment. What you're saying is journey is more important than the destination. Enjoy the journey. Put effort in the journey. Not
Yeah, and we've
don't.
heard that so many times in life, and it becomes such a cliche. I mean, how many times have we heard it? Enjoy the journey. Success is the journey. And the reason we've heard it so many damn times is because it's damn true. Because if we can always measure our value by how much money we have in the bank, by how many of this or that we have, how many cars we drive, how many TVs we have upstairs, how many whatever, man, that's not success. At the end of my life, it's did I go after my dreams, man? Did I take the time to say hi and walk the walk and talk the talk? That's success. And I think if we do that, if we walk our walk every day as good as we can, if we talk our talk every day as good as we can, I think in the end we're going to be successful as the world defines us, but it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. It's just, I just want to live my life doing my thing the best I can do it. That's success.
Absolutely. All right. So let's keep moving. What's your typical day look like, Sean?
Well, the first thing I do every day is I don't let the world control me. I don't let the world start directing my thinking. If you want to live like a battery charger of the human spirit, if you want to live with someone who is capable, motivated, powerful, and resourceful, you've got to learn to control the computer that sits on your shoulders, your brain. And the way you do it is the way I do it is the very first meeting I have every day is with myself. It's asking myself three questions every single day. Number one, what am I excited about doing today? Come on, Sean, what are you excited about doing today? Because if I can plant excitement in my soul from the very beginning, I've got a good chance of living an exciting day. Number two, who can I serve today? Who can I empower? Who can I encourage? What one person can I really target today? Question three, what am I grateful for today? Because it's easy in life to start thinking about all the things we don't have. It's harder in life to be grateful for the things we do have. That's how I start my day. Number one, what am I excited about doing? Number two, who can I serve? Number three, what am I grateful for? So from the very beginning of the day, I'm programming the computer that sits on my shoulders. I'm programming my brain so that whatever happens in the day, I've got a better chance of living successful. I have a better chance of living purposeful. I have a better chance of living passionately. Because the thing that we know is that life is tough. It punches us in the gut every day. It knocks us down. And if we're not controlling what we're thinking, pretty soon the world starts controlling what we think. And so that's the number one thing I can share with people is from the very beginning of your day, take control of yourself.
Thank you. And you did touch upon your goal setting method, but holistically, what's your goal setting method and how do you achieve them?
Well, when I was first starting a long time ago, I created an accountability system called SOAR, SOAR, and it's really a four-step plan that I have in achieving every goal that I go for. It's S, seeing the dream, making sure that my goal is so crystal clear that I can taste it, smell it, breathe it. I know what I want. S, seeing the dream. O, organizing the dream into a step-by-step plan. What is step 1, step 2, step 5, step 10 that I need to take to make my dream happen? S, seeing. O, organizing. The A stands for acting, taking action on that dream. It's one thing to have things written down and to have ideas about what I want to do. It's a whole nother thing about taking action on them. So every day I take action on it. I don't go home at the end of the day and sit my butt in front of a TV and buy imaginary vows watching Pat and Vanna, but I take action on it. Seeing, organizing, acting. Finally, R of SOAR is rejecting. Rejecting failure. Rejecting stinking thinking, rejecting defeatist attitudes, rejecting the people that say you're not going to do it, rejecting my own thoughts of saying I can't do it. That's what I do. That's how I tackle every goal I do, is with that that 4-step plan. S, see the dream. O, organize the dream into a step-by-step plan. A, take action on that plan every day. R, reject any failure that I have and keep going and going and going.
Amazing. That was so. Did you come up with that?
Yeah, I did, and I'll tell you the story behind it. It was at that 7-Eleven many years ago when I was floundering, when I was living in the back of a van, when I had nowhere to go. I had less than $400 to my name, and I was stocking coolers from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. It was a weekend in San Diego, and I was out on the beach. And all of a sudden, as I was out there feeling depressed and stressed about not being able to create any kind of success. Jobs were rejecting me, and I was feeling really bad about myself. And I was just out there with the seagulls. And I stopped on the beach and I watched one particular seagull. He was standing on the edge of the water. He was staring straight out into the ocean, staring like, what are you looking at, dude? What's out there? He was staring out there. And then that seagull turned and he looked at me and he stared like he knew what I was thinking. And then he took off, and I was watching, I was mesmerized by this seagull. He took off from the coast and he flew straight out into the ocean, and he kept on flying. Where's he going? Why isn't he afraid? Look how high he is. Doesn't he know all that water's down there? Doesn't he know that he could fall and drown? Where's he going? There's no land. And right there, I decided I want to soar like that seagull. I want to live a life that's bold, like a soaring seagull. I want to live a life that takes risks, unafraid of the water below, unafraid of the heights above, like that seagull. So it came to me in that vision right there to soar. See the dream, S. Organize the dream into a step-by-step plan. O. Take action on that dream. A. Reject failure that comes your way and keep going. R. S. O. A. R. I owe it all to that one moment on a beach when I was absolutely not certain of where I wanted to go. And from that one moment in an encounter, I learned how to soar in my life.
Wow. And you kept that with you. You remember, you kept that with you for so long, and you have achieved so much. You have implemented it in your life for so many things, so many journeys.
Every single goal that I do, I still use SOAR. Sean, what is it that specifically that you want? What is it? What is the specific goal? Because how can we ever go somewhere if we don't know specifically where we want to go? So that S becomes so important. Seeing the dream with my mind's eye, seeing it in the back of my head, seeing it so much that I breathe it, feel it, sense it with every fiber of my being. I know what I want. Then taking that dream and say, okay, great. You know what you want. But what are the steps? What are the steps I've got to do to get there? What is the step that leads to the next step that leads to the next step? What are those? And then reminding myself every day, looking at that plan and saying, man, what are you doing today to take action on that plan? What are you doing today to take action on that next step? And then all of a sudden having those days where you go, crap, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving. It's not happening. Rejecting that thinking, man, going back to the plan. Am I missing a step? Am I thinking, what do I need to do next? I live SOAR. And in living SOAR, I became a millionaire by 30, an entrepreneur my whole life. I've written 7 books. 2 have hit #1 on Amazon in motivation and self-help. I've traveled to created adventures in 55 countries. I've created a day in America recognized by 528 mayors. I've had a speaking tour in the Philippines attended by 20,000 people. I have a blog that's been subscribed to by thousands of people. I've walked across 8 countries. I've rode a bike across the US twice, and it's all because I know what I want, period.
You definitely do. I know you have to leave by 5:55, so I will move to the last few questions. Is there any question for me, Sean?
Yeah, what do you want to do next? What's your next?
I know in my present that I wanted to take it, want to invest into this, want to make it big. I am seriously considering going to Spain or somewhere in Europe and work from there. My wife is on page with me, so we might do that this year. Beyond that, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I will be doing in next 20 years. What I know though, that either this passion of writing and now video and helping the people, I will take it to something which will become my retirement gig, which could happen by end of next year or 5 year. But that's where I'm going, that I will get into something that I will keep to rest of my life. And then I don't know, kind of the blur vision.
Yeah, really quickly, because we do have to tighten this up. I'll tell you what, I'm not a believer in what you want to do 30 years from now, because how the heck do you even know? I'm not even a believer in what do you want to do 5 years from now, because how the heck do you even know? Because people change, things change, dreams change. I am a believer in what do you want to do today. I am a believer in what do you want to do this week. I am a believer in figuring out what do you want to do this month. And I am a believer in what do you want to do in 2022. Because when you start with doing those, everything else grows and opportunities open. So right now, you know you want to do the podcast. You know you want to go to Europe and live. You know you want to do that. Man, you know what you want to do. Go do those things. So the next question I'd ask is, what job do you want to do over there? Or how do I start looking for a job over there? Because you already have the plan. I don't think you should be trying to measure your 5-year plan or your 15 or your 30. I don't believe in that anymore. I've been there, done that, doesn't work. What do you
Actually,
want
on
to
the
do?
job side, my current job will allow me to work remotely. So I have job
Oh
and
my
I
gosh,
have
then
this
you've
side
got
thing.
it. Then
I
go.
just I just
Then
have to figure
go.
place where to go and what
Okay,
a
then that's your
house or
next step.
something. Yeah,
What continent do I want to live on? From
Europe.
there, what country do I want to live in? From there, research what city.
This is it. I'm doing this.
Of course you're doing it. It was your whisper, dude. It was your whisper. You got to be clear. You got to be true to your whisper, right?
You made me believe it. Yes.
And you know you can, because you started this podcast. You know you can. You know you're strong enough and courageous enough and brave enough and bold enough. You know you can. Now you just got to say, especially when you got a partner who's willing to walk by you, your wife, now you just say, let's make it happen, man. Let's make it happen. This is where we're going and this is what we're going to do. And then don't even say you're going to live there for 2 years. Let's just start with 6 months. Let's just go to 6 months, man. Let's not overwhelm ourselves with 2 years. Let's just go 6 months. And then after 6 months, we decide if we stay, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to get to the big goal, we learn to take baby steps better. We don't jump off the cliff on day one, right?
Right.
Anyway, I hope that this conversation has been of value to you. I hope that this conversation will be of value to a listener, and I know that certainly this chance to communicate with you has been of value to me.
I love every minute of it. Your message to the audience, Sean, that's the last question I have.
Life is short. Remember that fact every single day. Because when we remember that fact every single day, it allows us to give a little bit more push into the world of pushing our best into the world. And when we push our best into the world, at the end of our life, I think we would have found our best potential.
Thank you so much, Sean.
My privilege, my pleasure in being on your show. Much, much gratitude. Thank you so much for the chance to share a moment in time with you.
Thank you so much for coming. We will
Gratitude,
be
friend.
connected. I will tell you my plans. And when I go there, I will send you my pictures.
Awesome. Awesome. There you go. There's your accountability. And I look forward to that, man. And when you do it, I have a chance, maybe I'll even write a blog someday about this courageous dude who on a podcast told me what he was going to do, and he ended up doing it. Be the guy in life that says, this is what I'm going to do, and do it, because all of us get inspiration from that guy.
Thank you.
Create a great day, and I look forward to hearing from you again soon, especially seeing pictures of you living in some very cool place in some little part of the world far, far away from where you are now.
Have a great weekend, Sean. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, my friend. Create a great day. Bye.